Hey, good morning. It is Wednesday, September 13th. Go ahead and get all of that written down right there, and then I'm going to move forward. So you need to pause the screen if you need it. Again, pause it. You already know the drill if you've been watching these. Cool. So this assignment was due yesterday, and this would be the second revision. It was due yesterday. So I'm going to repeat that. It was due yesterday. This would have been the second revision, so make sure you get that in. So the first version, you got 10 out of 20. That's why a lot of people were like, why did I get 10? Because the first version was only worth 10. So your second and final version is worth the other 10 points. So that's how you get to the 20. All right, y'all, let's move it forward. Okay, so we have already went through this question before, and we did the before instruction. That's the box that I'm in right now. What's up? So that was the before instruction. Now we're going to move forward into the during instruction, right? So again, we're going to answer the same question that's up there. Why does it hurt your foot when you kick a soccer ball with bare feet? Now, I do want to preface this because some people, I don't think they watched the video, or maybe they didn't follow the instructions. If you are at home and you're like, on page 10, all I have is a blank page, then draw this in. Draw this whole thing in and make sure you have that question. You can just draw it in, right? Draw all these boxes and then you can put it in there. In class, we had a copy of this and we printed it out. You would have to go way back in the agenda slides somewhere. I am not sure where it's at, but it's way back in the agenda slides. But again, all you have to do is, like I said, draw this in on page number 10 and then answer that question. Why does it hurt your foot when you kick a soccer ball with your bare feet? I'm going to pause, and so should you, so you can get your answer in, and then press play when you're ready. Now, I know this is not a soccer ball. Just imagine, okay? So imagine it's a soccer ball. You got your bare feet, and I'm not going to show my bare feet, but you can get my sock. Okay, that's close enough. And then if I kick it, bow, right? Like, what is happening here, right? Like, why does it hurt my foot when I kick with bare feet? So, hopefully you have gotten this far into kind of thinking like, well, Newton's third law states for every action force, there's an equal and opposite reaction force. So that means that as I am applying force to the ball with my foot, the ball is also applying a force back onto my foot. So that means, and since the force is equal and opposite, the more force I apply to the ball, then the more force the ball is applying as that reaction force. It's equal and opposite back onto my foot, which obviously the more force that is applied to your skin or your nervous system or anything is going to cause pain, bruising, things of that nature, right? So just remember, like, that's like kind of like the base. If you were able to get somewhere close to along those lines, then you are good to go, right? And so again, if yours was kind of close to that, that's about where we should be, right? You should be gaining an understanding, and that's kind of how this thing should be working. So if you just knew Newton's third law, and if you think about it here, we'll go back to the big screen. That's very similar to the one where we slapped our hands on the table, that part of that lab, right? And then the harder we slapped, then the more we had pain, right, on our hand, and my hand's getting kind of red, right? And that's because the more force I am applying down onto the table, then the more force this table is pushing back against. So again, that equal and opposite reaction force. All right, cool. So hopefully you are gaining an understanding that. So we'll be done with the instruction in about a week. And so we will go all the way down to after instruction. And then the hope is that by then, out of your brain, you will have a clear and concise understanding of what's going on. Okay, let's move it along. All right, so I'm not going to take super long on these ones. You're going to have to pause it because, again, we've used this in class like multiple times. So a spring scale is a tool that measures a pulling force by the tension on a spring in the units of Newton. Now, oh yeah, and by the way, make sure you see all the way up there. You should be writing this in your journal. I know we're like switching back and forth. So we're in our notebook journal. That's how we're going to be today. Okay. So make sure you get this written in. And so we used the spring scale. We used it the regular way, like we held it up, and then we, hung an item on there, an object, and then we were able to get it its weight. We also used it as a pulling tension to kind of see how much force would it take to pull something. And then we also had them hooked together, right, in the lab. And then we were pulling one, and as one was pulling this way, then the other one was kind of pulling back against it and showing you that equal and opposite reaction force. Again, pause this if you need it. I am moving ahead. Flat out. So this next note is newtons, right? And we've been using this, and hopefully you've gotten the idea that Newton is a unit of measurement for force. So again, it's a unit of measurement for force, and you're measuring the force. And the most basic way that we do that is we're using weight, which is measuring how much gravity is pulling down on the mass of an object. By the way, that's going to be in the vocab, so make sure you know that. Newtons, right? And it is about weight, and weight's about gravity, and gravity pushing down on the mass of an object. And mass is the measure of all the stuff an object is made out of. All right, let's move to the next thing. Cool. So I'm gonna put myself in the center. Pause it and see if you can get this figured out as to what number this is supposed to be. Pause it for real, okay? All right, cool. So hopefully you paused it. Hopefully you figured it out. If not, we're going to tell you. So it is 36, LeBron James. And you're like, how in the heck? So look, 7, 14, 21, 28. So those are multiples of that, right? So there's a couple different ways to do this thing, okay? So then it goes 9, 18, 27, 36. So that is one way, right? Then you could have also said there's a difference of 2, there's a difference of 4, there's a difference of 6, so then this difference should be 8. That would have been the second way you could have kind of mathematically figured this joker out. Yeah, so there's kind of a couple different ways you can figure that out. Moving forward. Okay, so I want you to solve number 1. And if you want to work through number 2 and number 3 because you feel confident, but again, just solve number 1. That's the one we're going to go. So pause the screen and then solve number 1. Okay, we back. Let's go ahead and see if I can get this. Oh, it's acting cray, but that's okay. What the world? All right, we got to pause it. We'll be right back. Okay, now we're back in this game. So again, we're going to use this conversion factor. 1 pound is equal to 4.45 newtons. So just remember this about this converting, right? We're converting a 9 pound. Oh, come on, right on there for me. And I don't like how thin it is, so we're going to go ahead and change that. We'll see if we can just, there we go. So we're converting a 9 pound pumpkin, right, into newtons. So again, we're going from pounds and we're going to newtons, okay? Cool, that's important. Now, and again, I need it to be just a little, oops, I don't know about that. We'll see. Yeah, that's cool. 9 pounds, and we're going to put that over 1. Hopefully you at least got that far, okay? So 9 pounds, that's the 9 pound pumpkin. Then we're going to multiply, and we're going to put 4.45 newtons on the top, and then we're going to put the 1 pound, right, on the bottom. Now, the reason we have the newtons on the top is because we're converting to newtons, okay? That's why it's on top. If we were converting to pounds like we are here, then pounds would be on top, okay? So make sure that you understand that fact because that's going to tell you what should go on top of the conversion factor. So we're going to, whoops. Okay, I can't get it to go up. Cancel there. You guys get it. I'll put a couple lines on there. All right, so now you just have this, and then if you do the math, it should come out to 40.05. And remember, our last unit that we have left is newtons, so it should be newtons. Okay? So here's the thing. If that was comfortable for you, right? Like if that was really comfortable for you, no big deal. You were like able to solve all that, then good. You good to go. If that was not, then I would definitely go into the quiz review and then spend some time reviewing this process and how we do it. And if you want, you can go back to the lab, explore 1, and I also am walking through the problems there. So there's a tutorial inside the quiz review, and there also is me explaining in the lab explore number 1, because that was the first part of that lab. Okay, so make sure that you go to one of those. The other thing you could do is you could talk to a friend who knows, because everybody in this class has my class. So there you go. All right, so let's move it forward. And when I say everybody in the class, I mean every person in the school has my class. Okay, every 8th grader. Okay. So let's talk about CER. Hopefully you have done a CER last year. CER stands for Claim, Evidence, Reasoning. So turn to page number 23 in your notebook, and all I want you to do is I want you to see if you can come up with a claim and with the evidence. Now remember, we did this with the writings that we did earlier this week, and you're like, what do you mean? Well, a claim answers a question. The question is, or the question was for the writing, how was your first month of school? Your claim was, my first month of school was good. See how that answers the question? And then now all of your sentences were supposed to line up with evidence as to why your first month of school was good. That's the same exact thing that we're doing here. That's the same exact thing that we're going to be doing right over there. Okay, now you need to read this prompt and see if you can figure out what the question is. Some people wrote the question right here or right here, because that helps you to really get a clear claim. Once you know what the question is, then you know what you need to answer. In our CERs, I don't know if they had you do this last year, but in our CERs, we will always come out with the question. That just makes it so much easier to actually come out with the claim and then the evidence. Now, the thing about the evidence should come from the lab that we just did. So the lab was pages 17 through 22. We did 7 different lab stations, okay? Now, the piece of evidence, the amount of evidence you need is 3. So hold up this number, 3. So you need 3 pieces of evidence. So we had 7 lab stations, 3 pieces of evidence. So you only need 3 different lab stations to be able to help you explain what's going on. So I always want you to take, in class we took 5 minutes. So set yourself a 5-minute timer and try to see if you can figure out what the question is, come up with a claim, and maybe start writing some evidence, okay? And that's as far as we're going to go. I'm going to go to the next slide for the notes, but I want you to take 5 minutes to try and figure this out. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't give up. Just because it seems hard or it feels hard, like, don't give up. Just take 5 minutes and try and at least get yourself a claim, all right? Cool. So we're moving forward, though. But again, pause this and see if you can get this done. Again, this is on page number 23. And you got to read the prompt first, okay? That's where you're getting the question from. All right, cool. Let's go to this thing. All right. I'm going to talk through each one of these, right? And what I need you to do is in your journal there, right? Turn to wherever the next available 2 pages are. And on the left-hand side, write all these notes. This should take up maybe about half a page. So again, on the left-hand side, take up all these notes, because the note that we're going to take on the right-hand side is going to fill up this entire page, okay? It's going to fill up this entire page, but they go together, and it's going to be better if you can see them together, okay? Now, a claim, right? So a claim is a statement that answers the question, okay? So a claim, again, is a statement that answers the question. We just talked about that on the previous slide, is that a claim answers a specific question. Now, evidence, this is scientific data and details that support your claim. So remember, this is not a place to explain anything except for exactly what happened when you did the lab experiment. That's the only thing you should be explaining, right? And all you're really explaining is what was the outcome. So, like this, we dropped a clay ball and we dropped a ping pong ball from 1 meter, right? From 1 meter height. And so what I should be putting as evidence is I dropped a ping pong ball from 1 meter in height, and when it hit the ground, it bounced up 0.52 meters or 52 centimeters, okay? Cool. I'm not explaining anything except for exactly what happened. Now, I dropped a clay ball from the height of 1 meter. It hit the ground and did not bounce. Boom, that's it. I'm not trying to explain how that connects to my claim. I'm just stating again what happened when I did the lab experiment. That's how evidence should work, okay? Now for reasoning right here, okay? Reasoning, this is where you explain. This is where you explain the how or the why, the evidence. Now, how does this evidence that I just said with the clay ball and the ping pong ball dropping from 1 meter, how does that support my claim? Does that make sense? So how does that support my claim that I have now? So that is where you're going to do the explaining. Again, inside the reasoning. So take these notes and we'll talk more about this tomorrow. We got one more note and then we're done. Okay, now on that other page, I'm not going to really explain this too much because there's not really too much to explain because we're not going to go through this today. I just need you to fill up the entire page with this worksheet right here. Again, so make sure you leave these boxes to be big because you're going to need to write a question in there. You're going to need to write a claim in there. You're going to write a piece of evidence here, a piece of evidence here, a piece of evidence here, and then you're going to make a reasoning sentence for each one of these pieces of evidence. But we're going to do that tomorrow. Okay, so again, we're going to do that tomorrow. So please, 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 pretty please, all right, make sure that what you do is just make this whole entire page, and then when you're done, boom, that's the end of the lesson for today, all right? There's nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here, but again, you pause the screen, get this written in on that whole page. So just remember the way that we talked about this, right, is that on one side you took the notes for claim, evidence, reasoning, and then this slide here should go on this other side. So you should have these on back to back like pages because they go together. That's why it's easier for them to be noted together. All right, y'all. Peace.